I've been having a lot of fun exploring all sorts of retro technology over the past couple of months, which is why when I found this little CRT screen online, I couldn't resist ordering one, even though I had no idea what I wanted to do with it. Now, on YouTube, there have already been a couple of people doing a bunch of cool stuff with this little screen, but as far as I can tell, nobody has yet tried to make a little home arcade system out of it, which is weird because, in my opinion, it has the perfect form factor for this. Which is why I want to try that with a Raspberry Pi 4 and my moderate 3D printing skills. But before I can get to that, I want to first hook it up to a normal computer, which is why I soldered these two cables to a 4-pin connector. This one is where the power for the screen is gonna go in, and this one is the AV connector for the video signal. And also, to get it running, I have to install these potentiometers, which actually came with the screen, which kinda sucks because I already bought components to solder my own potentiometers, but hey. So for testing purposes, I got this HDMI to AV adapter, which means currently my PC is hooked up to this thing via HDMI, and it should output what's currently on my screen to the CRT. Let's first hook it up with power. Fun fact, by the way, this is actually the second screen I got. The first one seemed fine, but it was actually cracked up into places, which I only noticed after testing it, so that's why I've already got some experience dealing with this type of CRT. And it's working. Alright, so yeah, now you can see it. And yeah, I don't think I've mentioned it. The screen is in black and white, which I actually kinda like for the purpose of building a mini arcade. It differentiates my CRT arcade even more from the usual mini arcades, and I think it's gonna be a lot of fun playing original Game Boy games on this, which were also in black and white. And I also think that at least one certain video is gonna be really cool to watch on this, which is the 30-second animation Rain by Jack Stauber. And I've actually already loaded it onto this Raspberry Pi next to an operating system called Recalbox. It's just the perfect operating system for my purpose. It already comes preloaded with all the emulators that I could have asked for. And it also comes with the Kodi Media Center, which means not only can I play an infinite amount of games on this thing, I can also watch any video I want as long as I put it on the SD card of the Raspberry Pi. Which means we can watch Rain by Jack Stauber on this thing right now. After I did two things. First, I'm gonna try to adjust the screen a bit better using magnetism, which, yeah, as you can see, can actually adjust the screen a little bit by putting a magnet on here. You can also adjust all sorts of things about the screen by turning these screws, but I already did that, and yeah, that's the best layout I've came up with so far. Anyway, I'll also have to connect a Bluetooth box to the Raspberry Pi, but after that, we should be ready.
See, the rain is nice, but see, I don't really like getting wet. What in the world? No, I went under the awning. It's still raining. Why is it still raining? I did what I was supposed to. That's not fair.
Anyway, we can now get to the 3D design and printing part of things. First of all, I originally intended to use this HDMI to AV adapter in the final build, but I think I found a much better solution online, because as it turns out, the 3.5mm jack on the Raspberry Pi also outputs analog video signals, which means theoretically I think we might be able to use a cable like this one to output the signal directly to the screen, which would be really nice. So yeah, the final build will only have to fit the screen and the Raspberry Pi, and you might think the most logical thing to do, the slimmest thing to do, would be to place the screen like this, the Raspberry Pi in front of it, design a small box and call it a day. But if you look at most arcades, they actually have an angle screen to make looking at it from a high point of view easier. And I intend to do the same thing, which means I will have to put the Raspberry Pi behind the CRT screen. As for controls, I thought about making my own PCB controller. You know, just solder some buttons on the perf board and put it right there. But I think I found a cooler solution, namely some 8-bit do micro-sized gaming controllers, which should fit the arcade pretty well and come in the layout of a traditional SNES controller. And the huge benefit of doing that is that it would enable 2-player mode if I got a second controller, which I'm planning to build a compartment in the top layer of the arcade, which would normally go completely unused. And yeah, this way you should be able to take both controllers out of the shell and stand next to each other with the controllers in your hand and play some 2-player fighting games or other stuff on the CRT. That's the plan, and I'll just go ahead and do some computer-aided design magic. So the design I came up with might not win any beauty competitions. It's a very basic arcade design, but it should fit everything, and that's the priority here. This bottom piece is by far the most important main one. This place right here is where I want to fit the Raspberry Pi in a way that keeps all the USB and the Ethernet port accessible. I've also put some holes here for airflow. Right here and right there is where the audio is gonna come out. This is the USB-C port for the power supply to the Raspberry Pi. And this is where the power supply for the screen will go. And then right here is where the screen is gonna sit. And yeah, as you might have guessed, the controller is gonna go here. And the second one, as I've already said, is gonna be held up here. And I think that's gonna be really cool. I intended all the upper pieces to just slide into the bottom one via these holes and this triangle. And yeah, I will just print it and see how it goes, but I don't intend to print multiple times, because this thing is gonna cost a lot of filament and it's gonna take a while to print. So whatever mistakes might be in this thing, I hope they are fixable without reprinting the main parts. Okay, it's been a few days. This bottom piece alone took me 24 hours to print. Literally a full day. And as you might see, it didn't come out that great. You definitely see the layer lines of the 3D printer, but overall I'm still pretty satisfied with the print. Funny thing, as you can see here, the printer actually ran out of filament right before finishing the print. I think it's literally like 2 millimeters missing, which is why I had to redesign this part and put in this little bumper to give the print 3 more millimeters to actually fit well with the top when the screen is inside. The only other piece I had to reprint was the top one, because this one is a little bit too big, also literally just a millimeter. Yeah, the only other real issue with the print was the Raspberry Pi. I wanted it to be held up by this and that support, but my measurements were also off by like 2 millimeters, which is why it didn't fit into this, and I instead used my soldering iron to get rid of most of that support beam and yeah, just place the Raspberry Pi above it, which means now it's in there angled a little bit, and yeah, it doesn't really look great, but at least 2 USB ports are still accessible, and it's relatively solid. It won't just fall out that easily. I've ordered some stickers to decorate the thing a bit, to make it look more interesting. And I'm also still waiting on the controllers and the cable, so I will again see you in a few days, I guess. I did it, I actually did it. As you can see, I finished the project and I'm very satisfied with the outcome. The design turned out pretty great with these white corners and these stickers. It's super minimalistic, you can still see the 3D printed layer lines and everything, but I'm really happy with how this thing looks. It's supposed to look kind of self-made, so I think I achieved that. And yeah, the controller also works really great, as you can see. It's no issue at all to connect it to the Raspberry Pi. It actually only takes like 3 seconds if it's disconnected. And you can totally play most retro games with this thing. The only real issues I've had with this build were with the SD card, which is why I currently use a USB for the software. And then I also struggled with the analog cable connection from the Raspberry Pi to the screen, which is why I ultimately went back to using the converter that wasn't planned, so it's really cramped inside the arcade, but it works. I really don't know what went wrong with the cables I've tried, at least this one should have worked, but yeah, whatever. The last minor issue is the sound. I kinda cheaped out and got some motorcycle headphone speakers, because they were only like $2, and yeah, my thought was that I don't want to hear the sound that loud anyway, just a little bit for the ambience, and maybe I could just turn the volume up enough to hear it from these headphones. And yeah, it kinda works. I hear the music, I don't know if you can hear it right now. Maybe like that. But yeah, it's not great, I wouldn't recommend it. It just was the easiest option. But everything else about it is just great. Every game I've tried so far works perfectly. And especially Game Boy games like this look really great. Even the 2-player mode works as expected, so I think we're done. I think we're finished. This is for sure not gonna be a device I'm gonna be using every single day. But I think for the foreseeable future it will be fun to just show it to people coming over. And who knows, I think where a mini arcade like this would actually be a lot of fun is like in the break room of a workplace or something like that. To just bond with your colleagues in your breaks, playing 30-year-old fighting games. At least I think I would really enjoy that. So yeah, anyway, that's it for the project. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe and yeah, bye bye.